All right, everybody, welcome to the Locked On Avalanche podcast. It's draft season, so why not take a trip down memory lane and look at what we feel are the best 5 draft picks the Avalanche have made, as well as maybe the 5 worst. And Pierre Lacroix, the architect, finally gets a ticket to the Hall of Fame. New episode of Locked On Avalanche coming at you.
You're Locked On Avalanche, your daily podcast on the Colorado Avalanche. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Locked On Avalanche podcast. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I am your host, Chris Maselli. With me, as always, Mr. Shaggy Von Doom, Kyle Sullivan. Thank you for tuning in, making it your first listen of the day. That's always appreciated. Make sure to follow us on our social media outlets, LOPN_Avalanche on Twitter, Locked On Avalanche on Instagram. Questions, comments, concerns, and opinions, lockedonavalanche@gmail.com. And follow us over on YouTube. Hit subscribe, get notified when a new show goes live. And why not subscribe to our subtext? Link for that is in the show notes below. Subscribe, and you can chat with Kyle and I one-on-one. All right, take a look at the rundown over on YouTube. Like we said, we got we're in draft mode, and we will talk about what we feel the top 5 best and worst draft picks in Avalanche history. So this eliminates some of your, this is just Avalanche history. We're not going back to the Nordiques. So, you're not getting your Joe Sakic's and your Peter Forsbergs and things like that. But we'll talk about that. But and I do want to mention again off the top of that, tomorrow we are going to have our draft episode with Hattie Kalakash of Locked On NHL Prospects. And we will reveal who we picked in that mock draft that is going on now. We're releasing it in 3 installments. So 1 and 2 are up, and then ours is the third show, which are the 20s and the 31 and 32, 30, 31 and 32, will be on Friday. So, but we will release who we picked on our episode along with Hattie and get his response to it. But where we're going to start before we get to the draft stuff was the Hall of Fame released their inductees for this year. And you had a handful of goalies.
Yeah.
Which was nice to see. Led by Hank Lundqvist, obviously. But as far as front office people go, Pierre Lacroix gets in. And this is a guy who, they call him the architect for a reason, is because, when he kind of took over the last year in Quebec. And then when they moved to Denver is when, he really kind of just said, all right, I'm going to take this thing and run with it. And, the Avalanche would not have been what they were if not for Pierre Lacroix. And I think a lot of people were assuming, like, what took so long?
Yeah. When you look back at Lacroix, especially at the time of his passing, you can really see with the players and everyone that surround Pierre, like, he led with heart. Like, he had a great mind. Of course, that's where the architect comes with, but he loved this team. He wanted this team to succeed, and he did what he needed to do to make it to succeed. So it only fits that he's in the Hall of Fame. And honestly, being the architect, he set up the blueprint for how Sakic and McFarland run things now currently for Colorado, because Sakic observed how that team was put together, and you see a lot of that same makeup and how the team was run in the 90s and the 2000s and a little bit of the 10s.
Yeah.
And to what it looks like today.
Well, and then everybody looks at, his big moves, the Patrick Waugh move, and especially the Ray Bourque move.
Yeah.
That was, the kind of the writing was on the wall that Bourque wanted to, he, in the twilight of his career, obviously wanted to get a cup. He didn't want to go to the West Coast.
Yeah.
He wanted to stay in the East. And it was one of those things where it was like Boston was just going to abide by his wishes. You've done everything for us. Where do you want to go? We'll make it happen. We want to see you win a cup. It's not going to happen here in Boston. during that time period. Where do you want to go? And for the longest time there, I think it was the Flyers who were the favorites to land him. And they were having some problems like making the deal. And he just swooped in and was like, be open to coming our way. And one thing led to another, and he put a package together and he sold Ray Bourque on coming west. And nobody else was even trying in the West because it was known that Bourque wanted to stay on the East. So he was basically, if I can convince him to come West, I am battling with nobody here to try to bring him. And that's exactly what happened. And that was the best thing about him, is he just didn't sit around. He was constantly working deals, constantly.
And you bring up the Ray Bourque move. I thought one of his better moves was getting Patrick Waugh to leave Montreal. I know it was not the best of circumstances,
right?
But also remember, the Colorado Avalanche used to be the Quebec Nordiques, the hated rival of the Montreal Canadiens. So to get a Canadian legend to jump ship entirely and come to this new upstart team in Denver, and then change the perception of this team in an instant.
Yeah.
And it really made this Denver hockey team a legitimate contender. They already were the favorites with that nucleus of the Nordiques, but with Patrick Waugh, they became elite and they got the cup in the first year. So that goalie move is something you'll always remember with Lacroix, not the David Abisher, Jose Theodore move, but the definite that Patrick Waugh, it really started everything.
Yeah, and you now, like, when you see it on social media all the time, and that's the age we live in. When a player is rumored to want to trade, or when a player is going to hit free agency, every fan base thinks that they can get him, and every fan base tries to like maneuver in ways that what are some trade packages we can put together to get this guy. And that it wasn't like the case back then. And I think social media completely drives that. But there was the thinking, when someone becomes available, the Avalanche are going to be in it. And that was solely because of him. And when Waugh had that meltdown in Montreal and the whole "I'm never playing for you again" thing, I remember like it was immediate. Like they were trying to get him the year before, if I'm not mistaken, and it just didn't happen. And then when that happened, he pounced, puts a deal together, and it was almost like people knew Patrick Waugh was coming to the Colorado Avalanche one way or another for a multitude of reasons. But the main reason was because of Lacroix, and he just knew how to. He had that gift of making deals. Now, on the other end of that is when you played for the Avalanche, unless you were Joe Sakic or somebody like, you really weren't safe.
Yeah.
Like you never really knew if he was going to deal you. So, it's almost like the team that I despise right now in the Vegas Golden Knights. They kind of run their team like Pierre Lacroix did back in the day, but I shouldn't say it, not to that extreme. Like, you knew, like, if you were being shopped, Lacroix would kind of tell you, like, hey, we have this opportunity. There could be a possibility for he wouldn't just spring it on guys. I'm sure that did happen. But they respected the hell out of him, and he ran a team the right way. And like you said, yeah, Joe Sakic and Chris McFarland, they learn from him. They run it differently in that they don't always go make the big splash moves like he did, but they know how to build a team, and they do it a little bit different than Lacroix, but they still do it in that mindset of like or at least Joe Sakic did. Like, I learned under him.
And you could see that blueprint, that nucleus that Lacroix set up with. He has his established core. Like, these guys are not leaving. I trust these guys, because when you hear like Sakic and Forsberg, when they're talking about, and Waugh playing under Lacroix and his management style, I would do anything for him, because they sold out to playing Avalanche hockey. And to those players that came in just to play hockey in Denver,
your audio just cut out. I don't know what happened, but I know exactly where you were going with that, but a couple of the other moves that I just wanted to bring up, obviously, with him was, the Rob Blake move, obviously. Huge move for that. They did have to give up Adam Deadmarsh, who's one of my all-time favorites, but that happened. Yeah, there's the Ray Bourque deal. Theo Fleury, he brought in Theo Fleury. That didn't go, that wasn't really extended or anything. He traded his son.
And
and the reason behind it was there was a lot of like disdain in the locker room, and Eric was like, I don't want to deal with this, trade me, which is kind of a big thing to do, and he didn't want like this whole nepotism thing going on, so he did. But the bottom line is he traded his son.
Yeah,
I kind of find it funny.
And you're talking about those moves, but you can, like I was about to say before my audio cut, was you could see that with Sakic's Avalanche today and McFarland's. Like, they have their core, and like with Nas, if you're not going to come in and kind of sell out to Avalanche hockey, if you want to go shopping, go shopping. If you want to find somewhere to go play, go play. But if you're going to play the Avalanche way, they will give you chance and time and ice time. They will do it for you if you are all in on what the Avalanche are doing.
Definitely. So, and then the Sandus Ozolinsh one, he made that deal, and then one of the, I think the first deal that he made, I'm pretty sure it was the first deal he made, was to bring in Claude Lemieux. And
good move.
Talk about a fan favorite. I mean, he's one of the all-time fan favorites. So he just had the golden touch, and I think it is long overdue for him to be in the Hall of Fame. So you just wish it could have happened a few years ago so he could have been around to enjoy this, but at least the family will enjoy it. So congratulations to him and the Lacroix family. Very well deserved. One thing that they also did was draft, and we were going to get into the top 5 and the top 5 best and the top 5 worst. So we're going to do that right after we hear from Gametime and the Gametime app. Buying tickets to your favorite event should not be stressful, Kyle. And Gametime is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater near you, with killer deals and last-minute tickets and their best price guarantee. You can stop stressing over the tickets and start getting hyped for the fun that you are about to have. Some of the things that we love about the Gametime app: flash deals and last-minute tickets. So if you're those last-minute people and you're not sure what to do for the weekend, is the Friday's right around the corner. He's pointing to himself, and you just come up with the idea, hey, let's see what's out there. You can jump on Gametime and find some last-minute sweet deals on the app. It's fantastic. They're easy to find tickets and buy them for every kind of event in your area. The images of the seat view is the thing that Colin and I love the absolute most, and the lowest price guarantee, event cancellation protection, and even job loss protection. So download the Gametime app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Once again, create an account and redeem the code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download the Gametime app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, draft time. It's always exciting. I love this. The season is fantastic, but the offseason to me is just as exciting, and it all starts with the draft. And the Avalanche, like most teams, have some hits, but they do have a lot of misses. So we'll get to those in a little bit. But we're going to start with who we feel are the top 5 best draft picks the Avalanche have made. And for me, I have my list here. I have to do a honorable mention here because I had 6 and I just couldn't. So these are guys who's not necessarily still playing with the Avalanche. They drafted them, played a good amount of years for the Avalanche, and maybe have moved on. So I have to put number 6 for Paul Stastny. I got to put him at number 6. Played a bunch of years for the Avalanche, and at that point in time was hands down the best player on the Avs, without a doubt. And there are some, grumblings of when he was a free agent to bring him back, or during the trade season to bring him back. I never really thought it was going to happen. But he was a very good player for the Avs for a good amount of time. So I had to put him in at number 6.
It's funny that you have him as an honorable mention because he actually makes my top 5.
There you go.
Not as an honorable mention.
Okay. Well, then let's start at 5. Who do you have at number 5?
All right. This is a 5th round pick at 154 overall.
Mm-hmm.
This is John Michael Lyles.
Yeah, you got Johnny Lyles.
I'm talking now.
Hey, man, he was good.
When we were talking about like our top 5 lists of pros and cons when it comes to the draft, I kind of was swept up with the Lacroix news today.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're talking about making an impact for the Avalanche during his playing days, he was a good, consistent. I mean, he's got records galore, but he's now back in it with the microphone.
Yeah,
and he's paying it back to the team that gave him so much. And I feel like that is a true. I mean, that is Mr. Avalanche right there.
I got no problem including his post hockey career in that mix. I got no problem with that.
It's an easy pick, and I mean, again, 5th round, 154. Like, come on.
Yeah, we play 7 years for the Avs. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 years. And then played for the Maple Leafs, Hurricanes, and Bruins. But yeah, I got no problem with that, man. No problem at all. So number 5, and I think this might annoy some people here. Number 5, if we do this again in 10 years, he's probably going to ascend and be number 1, maybe number 2. But I'm putting Cale Makar right now at number 5. He just has not had the career yet. Like, he has not had he's played only a few seasons, and those few seasons are enough to get him in a top 5 spot. I can't put him any higher than that right now because the guys I have above him have much longer, more meat on the bone careers than him. And that's the only reason I'm sliding Cale Makar at number 5 is because of tenure. He just doesn't have it yet.
He didn't even make my list.
Well, there you go. And I was fighting with it between him and Stastny and going number 5. And I'm just like, I have to put Makar 5 right now, just because of what he's done to this stage in his career is already insanely impressive.
And that's who hits my number 4. It's Paul Stastny.
Is Stastny?
It's in that moment with that lineage, what he meant to the Avs at the time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was a home run. It just didn't work out that way. But he had all the potential to be one of like Mr. Avalanche.
Yep. Yeah.
So number 4.
Okay. I'm okay with that. Number 4 for me, I got Mikko Rantanen. He's been as advertised, number 10 overall pick. And I think it's one of those things where, like, if you redraft it, he'll be much higher.
Yeah.
Much higher. Top 5, I would say, in that draft. So, the guys who I have above him, I just feel have done a little bit more. But that's, to be the 4th best pick in Avalanche history is nothing to sneeze at. So, he's one of the best players on the team right now. And again, if you do this later when his career is over, maybe he ascends a couple spots. So we'll see.
He is my number 3.
There you go.
And if you want to know why, everydayers,
Mm-hmm.
check out yesterday's episode and check out that grade.
Yeah. Yep. Can't really say much more than that.
Yeah, he is my number 3.
Number 3, I got Alex Tanguay.
Ooh.
Yeah. He's just
great pick.
He's great. He's great. He's one of the most favorited Avalanche players in history. Where I just because you threw Johnny Lyles out there and I had to go looking for Lyles. So over the course of his career, over 1,000 games played, 863 points. How many seasons he played? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 seasons with the Avs. No, 6, 7, 8, 9 seasons with the Avs because he played.
There was a comeback tour.
The later, yeah. just a great hard-nosed player. Like,
Yep.
he like embodied the Colorado Avalanche. So, when he was playing in those early seasons with them, kind of got overshadowed a little bit by the Patrick Waz and Joe Sakic's, but he was right there. He was right there. So definitely an all-time favorite. So I'm going to put him at number 3.
Yeah, I love Tangs. That's a great pick. My number 2, 2011, first round, second pick, Gabriel Landeskog.
Same with me.
Yeah, I mean, perfect storm, the passing of the torch. He's the captain.
Yeah.
When it's all said and done, he will be no longer Landeskog. It's the captain.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm right there with it. And we have him this high, so we can only hope and pray that this career is not over, because we got him at number 2 already. So we kind of feel like, hey, even if his career does end, which let's hope that it doesn't, we got him at number 2. He's already done that much for this team, and it's one of those things where it's on and off the ice. He's in command of this team, and he's the perfect captain for it. And people have said that over and over again. So it's,
and
number 2, easy.
And I feel like if we matched at number 2, our number 2 would easily be number 1 if number 1 didn't happen.
Right.
In 2013, first pick, first round.
Yep.
1, Nathan MacKinnon.
And we have Patrick Waugh to thank for that. As much as Avs fans don't like how he left, which I completely understand, if it was not for Patrick Waugh, Nathan MacKinnon would not be on the Colorado Avalanche. You would be seeing Seth Jones on the Colorado Avalanche. Maybe not even anymore. They might have gotten rid of him by now. But that's the direction they were going. And Patrick Waugh stepped up and said, you might want to give this kid a second look. They went with it, and he's a top player on the planet. Yep. So I don't think there's any question that I think the difference between him and Landeskog, as much as we love Landeskog, is a pretty wide gap between the best draft pick they've ever had and the second best draft pick. And we love Gabe Landeskog, but Nathan MacKinnon is that good. It's
Mr. Avalanche. Another guy. Yeah. It's an interesting topic when that career is all said and done.
Yep, absolutely. So, all right. Now we're going to switch our attention to the worst. Oh, boy. But first, we are going to hear from Birddogs. This is Kyle's maybe favorite product that we've ever received from doing the show. And Birddogs stretch khaki shorts are designed to fit slimmer through the thigh and leg, giving you a truly sculpted look. Who doesn't want sculpted look? It's officially summertime, Kyle.
It is. I must be sculpted Von Doom.
Yeah. Birddog shorts do the exact same thing as Lululemon, but they fit so much better. And the reason they fit better is because they are made from they're not made from a stiff restricting cotton. They're made from a cloud knit fabric that Birddogs created. And they look just like khaki, but they stretch, so you get a way slimmer fit without having to sacrifice movement. And they also have the anti-stink sweat wicking fabric that keeps you cool and dry all day long. So go to birddogs.com/LockedOnNHL and you get a free Yeti-style tumbler for free. There it is right there. Beautiful. Once again, birddogs.com/LockedOnNHL. Put in your order and you get the free Yeti-style tumbler. You will not want to take these Birddogs off. We can promise you that. All right, let's switch over to the bad side. It's okay. Are you ready for this? Got to do, because I'm sure there's some people who want to throw a certain guy right at the top of the list. So I'm interested to see where we go with this. But let's start at number 5, like we did with the top 5. Who you got at number 5 of your worst draft picks for the Avs?
Is my number 5 this guy that you refer to?
Could be.
First round, 16th pick, 2018.
Nope.
Martin Kaut.
Okay. All right.
Again, first round, 16th pick overall. Martin Kaut. 2018, he's a San Jose Shark.
I will reserve comment on Martin Kaut until a little bit later because my number 5 right now, I put Tyson Jost at number 5.
Interesting. Didn't even make my list, ironically enough.
And it's just because you expected more from him. He's the number 10 pick, and we just talked about a guy who was a number 10 pick that's in our top 5 best picks.
Yeah,
in Mikko Rantanen. I'm not saying we were expecting him to be Mikko Rantanen, but there was a time where Tyson Jost was expected to be what a number 10 pick gives you. And you saw glimpses of it every once in a while, but for the most part, you didn't. And they just eventually had to throw in the towel on him. They gave him every opportunity, and he just couldn't seize it. So I had to put him on here. Yeah, he was, again, same with my best top 5. That number 5 slot was going between a couple guys, and in the end, I had to put Jost on there.
And it's funny you talk about that hype around Jost because that kind of leads into my number 4.
Okay.
Overshadowed in this draft by who was picked ahead of him in the same draft. Also, first round in 2011, 11th pick, Duncan Seamans. There was some hype around him as well.
Yeah, definitely.
When he hit, and Landy taking off and Seamans did not. It really fizzled out before it even got started. And I was really excited about what he could bring, and he just never brought it. And that was a lot of hype. And it really did not help that Landy became Mr. Avalanche, Mr. Captain, and Seamans was just a flop.
And he was second round?
I think he was first round, 11th pick.
Was he?
Yeah. We had the second pick, and then we also got 11 as well.
You're right. Yes. Yeah, that was okay. And that's what I did. I stuck with all first rounders. I didn't go beyond the first round.
My third is not.
Okay. So for my 4th, he was their number 26th pick in 1997, and that's Kevin Grimes. Because he didn't play a single game with anybody, not just the Avalanche. He never played a professional NHL level game for any team. So I know, and I put him 4th because he's the lower end. You could mix and match like a couple of guys here where they were picked in the first round. So I put them, what I say, it was 26 or 27, 26th overall. I mean, you're a first round pick. You got to at least get it in a game.
Oh, hold that thought for my number 1. I have a stat that's going to blow your mind.
All right. So yeah, Grimes is my number 4. Who's your number 3?
Number 3, this one is honestly, it's a 4th round pick, 130th overall. How can you not do anything with a man named Colt King, Colorado Avalanche?
Who is that?
Exactly. No, with a name like Colt King, I mean, you have to do something. Put a microphone in his hand, put him on altitude. If he can't play hockey, get Colt King.
I mean, you got to be able to cash in on that name alone, dude.
Like I was going through the all-time lists in the draft, and I saw that name, and I could not let it escape me. Colt King, what a bust. You had an incredible name alone. Do something, Colt King.
If you follow the show page on Twitter, I'm pretty enamored with a prospect in this year's draft purely by name.
Yep.
And that name is Hugo Hell. I mean, there you go. And funny thing is The Athletic did a 7-round mock draft. And who do you think they had picking Hugo Hell in the 6th round? It was either the 6th or 7th round. The New Jersey Devils. That is a match made in Hugo Hell.
It's like when I used to hope Miroslav Shatan used to play for the Devils, and I just wanted that jersey.
Yeah. Yep. Perfect. I mean, that's perfect.
Yeah.
So it'd be round 2. For me, number 3, Jonas Johansson.
Interesting.
No. Not that Jonas Johansson. The round 1, number 28 overall, 2002 draft. He played a single game, and it wasn't for the Avalanche. It was for the Washington Capitals. And you want to know what his contribution to that game was? 2 penalty minutes. That was it. I'm hearing the buzzing on your side too. I don't know if you want to fix something on your end, but yeah, Jonas Johansson. And you know, I think they maybe redeemed him somewhat by going to get a different Jonas Johansson, but
he sits at number 2 on my list.
He's number 2 for you?
Yeah. And I mean, at that time, that was something you really needed, a right-handing shooting forward, and it just did not happen. Yeah. It was abysmal for that to even happen, and you don't want to chalk it up to scouting or just bad luck, but it really did not happen. It did not start at all. Like when I was talking about Duncan Siemens, it never got going. That show never even started. That was canceled before the pilot was even finished.
Yeah. So he's your number 2. My number 2 is a guy who got drafted twice in Connor Bleckley. He was drafted in the first round by the Avalanche, number 23 overall in the 2014 draft. Never played a game, and then went back into the draft in 2016. Now, when you're drafted in the first round, 23 overall, and then things happen where you get thrown back into the draft, and he got drafted again, this time by St. Louis in the 5th round, 144 overall. So, and that's just 2 years later. 2 years later, you fall that much. And he didn't do anything for St. Louis either. Never played a single game for anybody. And I remember when that pick happened. That was, I don't want to say like an exciting pick, but there were people who thought like, hey, this could have been a steal. And it just never materialized for him. Never even saw the ice.
Well, 2 points here. He is my number 1.
He's your number 1.
He's my number 1.
Okay.
And since you hit all of the points I was going to talk about, I remember the hype. And you know why there was hype? Here's my interesting stat for you.
Mm-hmm.
In that draft, 2014, the Avalanche drafted 7 players. Only 1 saw NHL ice. That would be Anton Lindholm.
Wow. I mean, if you go through the Avalanche, they've had some complete drafts in years where like one guy has seen the ice and not played a lot of time. I think actually, I think it was Duncan Siemens. If you remove Gabe Landeskog from that draft, he's the only one who's seen it. And how many games did he play?
It was 60s, I believe. Let me look.
Go look that up. But I mean, it's next to nothing. So Gabe Landeskog obviously saves them.
Even worse than that, 20.
There you go. Remove Gabe Landeskog, and everybody else in that draft never saw anything. So I know that's why the draft is kind of exciting, because it kind of is a crapshoot. So for me, man, who's the guy I haven't listed yet? You had him at number 5. I haven't listed him yet.
Ooh,
Martin Kaut is, in my opinion, the worst draft pick for the Avalanche. And I don't know, man. Like when you're picked 16, you are given as much time and patience, and you know, you had a moment, you had multiple moments where you could have seized an opportunity, and you had size, you had decent speed, and there were times where he just looked completely lost and disinterested, and maybe just like, maybe this NHL world is a little bit too big for me, and he just never materialized into anything of what the Avalanche wanted him to be. And it's a big disappointment. I know. I wish him well. Maybe he can turn things around in San Jose. But God, I mean, if there was a guy who had all of the pick your word, man. I can't even think of the word right now. He had all of the potential in the world, and again with the size, it just went all south for him. And there's really nothing good that you can pull out of the Martin Kaut pick.
Martin Kaut's legacy is going to be Martin Kaut. He was mad that one preseason.
Yeah, Martin Kaut, like, he knew this was his last year to do anything. Like, it's so. He's mine, and this is the good thing about it. I know there's some people who would, you put him number 5. That's fine. So there might be other people who won't even put him on there. But we'll see. I'm interested to see where the comments go for all of this stuff, for the Pierre Lacroix stuff, for the top 5 best, for the top 5 worst. Comment away, people of Twitter and YouTube. It'll be fun. So, all right. Like I said, tomorrow we will have Hattie Kalakesh on here from Locked On NHL Prospects, and we will reveal who we got in the Locked On NHL mock draft. So tune in for that. That'll be fun. But that's going to wrap it up for today. So till tomorrow, thank you for tuning in, making it your first listen of the day. Always appreciated. He is Mr. Shaggy Von Doom, Kyle Sullivan. I am Chris Maselli. This is the Locked On Avalanche podcast, and we will see you guys tomorrow.